I've said it before, the VA is the most well-funded healthcare organization in the history of our species, in charge of the highest rate of suicide in the history of our species. If you don't think that they're a clearinghouse for unuseful combat veterans, then you're not looking at numbers.
Hey there, my name is Sean, and this is Suicide Noted. On this podcast, I talk with suicide attempt survivors and ideators so that we can hear their stories. Every year around the world, millions of people try to take their own lives, and we almost never talk about it. We certainly don't talk about it enough. And when we do talk about it, when we engage with people in pain, we're not very good at it. So one of my goals with this podcast, started back in the summer of 2020, is to have more conversations and hopefully better conversations with survivors, in large part to help more people in more places hopefully feel a little less shitty and a little less alone. Now, if you are a suicide attempt survivor or someone who thinks about it or has thought about it personally and you want to talk, I'd love to talk with you. Please reach out. hello@suicidenoted.com. You may know that we are looking for people to help us out with transcription, so if that sounds like something you might want to do, shoot me an email as well. When I say transcription, most of it's done with AI, so it's mostly formatting and some indexing, trying to get through all our episodes and get all updated by late winter, early spring, so we could use some support with that or additional support with that. And of course, if you are already helping with that, a huge thanks. And I want to thank Crystal, who lives in Europe, for a generous contribution she recently made. Thank you. But anyone involved, however you're doing this, listener, supporter, guest, helping out on the tour. Look, man, I appreciate it. I really, really do. Finally, keep in mind, we're talking about suicide. On this podcast, my guests and I do not hold back. Please take that into account before you listen or as you listen, but I do hope you listen because there is so much to learn. Today, I am talking with Marshall. Marshall lives in Colorado, and he is a suicide attempt survivor. Marshall in Colorado, right?
Yeah, correct.
Suicide attempt survivor.
Yes.
Thanks for talking with me.
Thanks for having me.
You're a veteran.
Yes, sir.
Haven't had many guests called me sir. I don't know if I like it. I appreciate
Sorry
it, though.
about that. It's a habit.
All I think of is, God, I'm old.
Yeah, I call my daughter ma'am.
If I ever have the good pleasure of meeting your daughter, I won't. I'll just call her a name. I'm not her dad. You're in Colorado. Nice country, nice part of the country.
Yeah. It's a beautiful place. It's ideal for the type of the work we do out here. So
I want to talk a little bit later about your organization, but share with the audience or whoever's hearing this the name of your organization.
Combat Recovery Foundation.
Are you the boss?
Yeah, I am. I'm the founder, and I'm currently the CEO.
Nice. Tough job.
It is. It's a startup. It didn't take on an existing nonprofit. I started it from scratch.
Good for you.
Yeah, thank you. And then, because we're in a rarefied field, that makes it particularly challenging and exciting.
Your microphone's way better than mine, so you're not playing around here. You're all business. I appreciate it.
I'm kind of carrying the torch for the veteran experience in suicide prevention, and so I want to come across as professional as possible. And so,
well, you're looking good. You're sounding good. How did we end up finding each other? How did our paths cross?
I've listened to your podcast since before I was given the opportunity to be on it.
Oh, sweet.
I think that what you do is important.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm a fan of you guys who protect us.
Thank you.
For sure. Do you hear that a lot outside of the military community from civilians?
Yeah.
Cool.
We're I think the zeitgeist in America has really tried to atone for what the Vietnam veteran experience was. We're much more capable of separating the individual from the politics, I think. There's, some are better than others, but we're doing a lot better job of it with the veteran community as a whole. And so, yeah, there's a lot of support out there.
Good. Zeitgeist is a great word. How many suicide attempts do you have in your life?
That's difficult to quantify.
Great starting point then.
Yeah. I've been informed that by people more educated than I that holding a gun up to your head and pulling the slack out of the trigger counts as an attempt. And I don't know if that everyone subscribes to that. I've interacted with people who have actually shot themselves and survived that.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit difficult for me to be lumped into a similar category than them. I guess I just want to be transparent about my experience with the hope that that somebody can take something from that. And so I guess I just want to be clear that with when we say the word attempt, I've never shot myself. And some people have, and that's probably got to be a very difficult thing to get through. I don't know. I don't know why I feel like it's important that I make that qualification, but
I appreciate that. I used to say something like, however you define that. I'll ask somebody this question about attempts. And somebody pushed back once. Not that I was talking to. Somebody emailed in and they're like, it's not quite the same, buddy. If people ideate, right? If they're thinking about their own death, I want to talk to them. Words matter a lot. At the end of the day, they're just words. So if you have a gun to your head, doing things with the gun that I don't know because I don't know anything about guns, but it sounds like you're not fucking around. I mean, of course, I want to hear that. I hear about that for the sake of other people wanting, maybe feeling less shitty and less alone. That was a long-winded way of saying, yes, this is great. Okay.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Like I said, thanks for having me here. I definitely did do some mental gymnastics as to whether or not I was qualified to be on your podcast. But I guess my position was that whenever you're speaking publicly, inevitably there's going to be someone that whatever you're saying doesn't resonate with, and I have no doubt that will be the case today. But my hope is that there's someone out there that this does resonate with, and hopefully it's useful to them.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure it will, especially the vets, but who knows who else. How old are you?
I am 42.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Oregon, Southern Oregon.
When did you join the military?
30 days after 9/11.
Pretty young guy.
I graduated high school in 2001 and turned 18 August 31st. And then 11 days later.
Damn. Was that your path either way, or did everything change after 9/11 for you?
No, that was not my path. I grew up in an artist community. My path was to be a professional artist.
What kind? Fine artist?
Actor.
18-year-old Marshall in Oregon goes to, look, if you're enlisting, I don't know the right words, Marshall. I apologize. I don't mean any disrespect. Is it Army?
It was the Marine Corps.
Okay, Marshall. So you're an artist and a Marine Corps guy. Like every woman in the world is throwing her fucking self at you. Jesus. Check every box. I love it. Wow. Marines, by definition, are a little bit different, right?
They are a little bit different. Truth.
Right. So you're this guy coming in from an artist community, expressing his emotions. I mean, unless you're not a very good actor, that's kind of part of it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
When you go into the Marines, am I wrong? And then we'll get to some of the other stuff, of course. Like, you express a certain kind of emotion, I sure, more than others, or am I wrong? Basically, I don't think Marines, as far as I understand them, being badass, being hardcore, having a job to do, high stakes. You don't have the luxury of necessarily exploring all of human emotions like you might if you were doing Shakespeare.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm tracking you. To survive and be successful in the Marine Corps experience, I had to compartmentalize a great deal of my personality that I had to get, back in touch with and reinvigorate later in adult life, particularly when I, started working in suicide prevention, because you can't be, wholly dispassionate in this career field, and that is certainly what the Marine Corps attempts to make you. So yeah, there's a dichotomy there.
Do you think, I know you're not necessarily an expert in all things Marines, but do you think that the reason you have to be wholly dispassionate is because part of your job is to potentially kill people?
Yeah, the mission of the Marine Corps is to rapidly and effectively prevent wars, really. So, you'd say win the war, but really we don't even go to war anymore. Really, it's about preventing war. But, often a component of that is to close with and destroy the enemy. And that is what the Marine Corps is most professionalized at doing.
Well, you're into prevention then, aren't you?
Yes. And then, so to take that a step further, while I am a Marine, my job in the Marine Corps was to protect Marines.
Really?
Yeah. So I was in what we would call force protection.
What the hell is that, Marshall? Am I even allowed to know?
Yeah, absolutely. No, there's nothing spooky about what I did at all. First of all, a military has what we loosely call a tooth to tail ratio, and that's how many war fighters to how many supporters. Support people like the people who are gassing up the trucks, all that, right? So the United States military has the largest tooth to tail ratio of any military, and it's a ratio of 4-1. So for every warfighter, you've got 4 people in the rear supporting that warfighter. When warfighters have to sleep and eat and have downtime, and so at that time they're vulnerable, and so that's where force protection comes into play. And so my job was I was an explosive detection dog handler. When an infantry unit would go on patrol through a combative area, I would walk in front and sweep for explosives, to protect them from IEDs. So that was my job. So I was in force protection. And what I liked about that is explosives hurt people indiscriminately. When I was taking a bomb out of play, it felt very apolitical. It just felt like whatever way you're looking at this, through whatever lens, I'm taking a bomb out of play, and that's a good thing. So I felt positive about it.
Positive, and also, were you scared?
Yeah. Yes.
Like, I would imagine putting a uniform on doesn't necessarily make someone less scared, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just how you manage emotion.
So much of shit is about how you manage emotion. Damn.
Certainly.
Right.
I think that might be like the journey, right?
I'm not good at it, Marshall.
Same.
You're middle-aged now. I'm grouping in the middle-age bracket. Middle-aged guys. Just talking. Sorry about it.
Yeah. Definitely middle-aged.
How does that feel to hear that?
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of on the front end of it.
Just being really clear. Yes, you are.
Yeah, like I'm recently experiencing it. I guess I'm just taking it as a positive. I kind of feel like I dodged a lot of bullets, and so everything is in the plus column.
When you were growing up, did you ever think about killing yourself?
No, I didn't.
How old were you, more or less, when those thoughts started?
Yeah, 22, 23, after the military.
That's sort of standard service, right? 4 years or so?
4 years is your initial enlistment, and then at the end of that, you can choose to re-enlist or not.
Were you in the Middle East?
Yes.
I would imagine an 18-year-old who's in the Marines in 2001 is almost definitely in the Middle East.
Yes. You're welcome to ask me anything about it you like. I won't. I'm an open book about it. Yeah, I did. I deployed to Iraq.
What percentage of the people you worked alongside with re-enlisted, if that's the right word, signed up for more time?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean that's a really good question. I've never contemplated that question before. In the Marine Corps, the military in general, you go to boot camp, and then you're like all your initial schools to get all schooled up and everything, but then everybody scatters and goes all different directions. So it's not like I went through and had the experience with the people, all the way through, the same people, and we all got out. It's not like that. And then in addition to that, because I was a canine handler, we were just absolutely the tiniest unit probably that existed, with maybe like a couple of exceptions. So when I got out, I was the only person getting out that day.
And within a year or so, your suicidal thoughts are getting pretty strong?
Yeah, I mean, I started having panic attacks immediately. I also got physically extremely sick, and I even got asked later on by somebody, a doctor, and she asked me completely out of the random, "Did you get really sick the day you got out of the Marine Corps?" I said, "Yeah, I got extremely sick." Yeah, I think it's something that happens pretty regularly.
It's got to be like such a major going in and leaving are just massive life changes, massive.
Yeah. Our communities are not equipped to rehabilitate the young men that they have chosen to send to war.
Probably grossly under-resourced, under-knowledged, underprepared. One of the reasons, guessing, you have an organization you run right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Giving veterans a landing pad and a new community and a new mission to transition into is the idea, because when we get out, we are totally alone in a way that we never have been before in our lives. But we're navigating that with fresh brain injuries and PTSD, all the other things that the military experience piles on to the undeveloped brain.
I've probably, in more or less 300 conversations, had fewer than 10 with veterans, which is unfortunate. I'd like to talk to more, but you know what I've thought about? And you just said it in a way that just makes me think it even more. You almost cannot create a set of conditions that leads a human being to be more likely to hurt or harm themselves or end their lives than what you just said. From what I hear.
Well said.
I'm the weird suicide noted guy. I understand that. My lens is a little bit different than some others. And I don't want to be dramatic. And this is the kind of thing I might cut out in editing. It's just like, I'm astounded there aren't more.
I encourage you to leave it in. It's not something that a lot of people, I don't think, spend a lot of time really contemplating. But so we know the enormous impact of adverse childhood experiences on a developing brain.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that the human brain is done developing at 25, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got in the Marine Corps at 22.
Right, you're a baby.
Right? I had half a dozen TBIs, and witnessed horrible things. And then, like I said, just went from a community and a mission and support and structure to nothingness, to absolute nothingness. It's like,
right.
It's like jumping into the deep end of a cold pool.
I can't imagine, bro. I cannot imagine that. And imagine this, and it just popped in my head because you brought it up earlier. It came up with respect to specifically Vietnam. And then you add the fact that people fucking hate you.
Yeah. Brutal.
I look at guys who came back from Nam and, became addicts. And I'm like, I don't know how every one of them didn't become addicts. I'm not glorifying addiction. How the fuck could you not? Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Physical, mental, and emotional pain and isolation. And what, they're not going to self-medicate? What's exacerbating it is there's no shortage of Americans' appetite to send their young people to war. We're continuing to make combat veterans. I'll say we've been at war, quote unquote, since 2001, right? So for 25 years, right, we've been sending people off to combat. But here's what's wild, Sean. Check this out. Do you know when the last time the United States actually declared war was? It was World War II. The intent there was that the United States government couldn't send off its citizens' children without Congress, a panel of Americans, declaring a war. Right. But now, because of the workarounds, it can be made as a unilateral decision by one person, which isn't how the system was designed.
Right. And people are dying. Let's just say what it is.
Yeah, people are dying. So we've deployed over 3 million people since 2001. And then of those people, many of them deploy multiple times. In that time, we've created approximately 1.8 million disabled people as a result of that. We've had hundreds of thousands of suicides in that time.
Yeah.
You know how many combat deaths we've had? Less than 10,000.
When I say it's not surprising, I'm not trying to come off as some guy like nobody talks about it. We talk in our bubbles. People talk about it, but it's a tiny bubble in a much massive space. My take on all of this is, unless you're going to be really honest about it, like, I'm not saying there's no value, but we got to stop bullshitting. That's always, if you've heard the podcast before, which you have, that's my angle for lack of a better word. And we just don't do it. Even when people talk about it, you might be an exception, of course. There are others, of course, that are exceptions. I just see it all the time. We'll talk about suicide. It's like, but are you talking with people who've gone through suicide openly? I don't see that very often. And it's a fucked up thing, man, because I'm so terrified of it. I can't even post shit on fucking social media without getting blocked. How weird is that? What does that say, bro? Anyway, it's not about me, but it's a larger, let's not talk about it. And people die.
Yeah. I don't think people want to take responsibility for how toxic an environment we've built for ourselves.
That transcends military and veterans but
absolutely. I mean, I think for all the military's faults, I think they're getting it more right than the general public is.
But there are more and more organizations that seem to be, and I'm sure some are much better than others, dedicated to helping veterans deal with mental health and often specifically suicide. But I guess it's still just a tiny little ripple. Well, if that's the right expression. It's just, there's just so much more work that could be done.
Yeah, really, really. So part of the problem is that everybody keeps talking about what the VA isn't doing and what the military isn't doing. And that's passing the buck. It's never been a military's responsibility to reintegrate warfighters. Militaries have never done that. And the VA is the most well-funded healthcare organization in the history of humanity, sitting on top of the highest rate of suicide in the history of humanity. So they're not getting it right. Bottom line is, our communities need to be set up in a way that we can reintegrate our veterans. And that's what we're creating here in Northern Colorado, is a framework by which we can do that benefits the community. So we're mitigating and affecting wildfire and rehabilitating habitats and serving the community. And so instead of taking 22-year-olds and saying, okay, thank you for your service, here's your drugs, here's your couch, and here's your video game controller, never bother us again. We're saying, hey, because of the experiences that you've had and the sacrifices that you've made, we're going to invest in you because you're worth it. That's the change that needs to be made in every single community in America, as long as we want to send our young people to combat.
So do you imagine having, I mean, this might outlast your lifetime, but this model in as many communities as possible?
Yes, absolutely. I don't need CRF to be a big national organization. I want communities to look at what we're doing. I want them to come visit us. I want them to run a chainsaw next to our participants and swing a shovel and an axe. And then I want them to go home and I want them to say, hey, Florida, let's rebuild our beaches with veterans, or, whatever problem is affecting New Mexicans, whatever problem is affecting Arizonans, right? Let's leverage these people who have already proven that they're willing to sign their lives away for a stranger. Well, let's leverage that willingness. Let's leverage what they've learned to solve the problems within our community, and quit looking at big daddy government to come down from on high to solve it for us.
Funding, baby. All comes down to funding sometimes, but it's not the only.
Well, no, but therein lies, that's the answer, is we create a financially viable solution, because the problems that they're preventing save money. And then because also within our model, we take the forest product that we take out, that we're mitigating the wildfire, all the fuels that we take out, we're repurposing into products that we then sell. And then that's what funds the mechanism.
Damn, you are a badass.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Smart guy, fighter, artist. When did this organization start? And the reason I ask that mainly right now is I want to know what led you. I want to talk about your near attempt, if you want to call that, or attempt, and there might be more than one. And then it gets to this point, right, where you say, fuck this, we're going to start an organization. Get out of the military. You imagine your experience was similar to many of those that you were just describing, that to this day in many cases.
So immediately after the military, I moved to Knoxville, Tennessee, and I worked for the National Nuclear Security Administration, guarding nukes.
Jesus, okay.
I lived with another veteran who had been deployed with.
Yep.
And our behaviors were feeding off of each other, and we were kind of going in a crazy direction. I kind of one of my wake up moments was I was really compelled to start disassembling the electronics in the house to look for bombs. Yeah, and I was getting real antisocial and real paranoid.
Drugs, alcohol?
Alcohol, yeah. Kind of did a deep dive on what I wanted to do, and I decided that I wanted to work in a bicycle shop and be a ski instructor. So I moved to Boulder to do that for 2 years.
You're a good skier?
I'm okay.
We have to be decent if you're going to instruct, I think.
Well, I mean, you only have to be better than someone who doesn't know how to ski.
Someone who's taught for a long time, we get a lot of shit for that, but that's a cute argument, but hopefully you're a little more than that. But hey, if it worked at that point, but so if the math is correct, tell me about the thoughts specifically around suicide leads to a gun being pointed to your head.
I guess just isolation, lack of purpose, lack of belonging. I lost my identity.
You probably just nailed a whole lot of people's experience around this stuff rather succinctly. You said I can ask you anything, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So how many times have you had a gun pointed to your head and it wasn't for just shits and giggles?
Less than 5, more than 2.
By the way, I just said something that I don't need to retract, but as a Marine who's trained to use firearms, I don't think you use firearms and point them at yourselves for shits and giggles ever. Is that fair?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess that would be accurate. It's definitely a taboo thing to
Yeah.
do.
Were those times in your 20s, all of them? 30s?
20s and 30s.
What stopped you from taking the next part, going to the next part, which would have been, I don't know how guns work, man. You did something you said earlier where it wasn't just pointing. You did something with a lever or
I was pulling the trigger. Yeah, just contemplating the impact that my death would have on the people around me. And I guess in every occurrence was able to identify a person that I didn't want them to have to live with that. And so I chose not to.
Are you, for lack of a better word, glad that you never did that?
Yeah, I am. I have found a mechanism by which I can identify the value in the tragedies I've experienced. And I think that is the tool by which we recover. And so we have to interact with our tragedies, and we have to identify what about those things made us better.
And you've been doing that?
Well, I found my way to working in suicide prevention.
Right.
And so my own suicidal ideations, the suicides that I've witnessed, the combat that I was in, horrific events that I've witnessed in my life all serve to make me more effective at suicide prevention.
You know the pink and purple pill question?
No.
Okay. It's not real, obviously, but if I give it to you, you take it, you go to sleep, there's no pain. And given what you've just shared about what you were dealing with at times in your 20s and 30s, here's the part that I really want to address with you. Nobody knows it's a suicide.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I asked the question might seem obvious. I don't know. It's just, I want to know if you wanted to be alive or not. So if we take all those other things out that tend to prevent people, right, including this is going to have an impact on my sister or my lover or my father or whomever, do you think at any points in the past you would have taken it?
Yes.
It's kind of ballsy for you to say as the guy who's running a suicide prevention organization, I got to say.
Mm.
Honestly, we got to be honest, right? We can't fuck around with this shit.
Yeah.
What about today?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. No, I wouldn't.
Did you chuck it? Save it.
Oh, wow.
Come on, Marshall. This is hardball.
Yeah. No, that's a really good question. I don't have a knee-jerk reaction to that. Let me think about it for the quickest second.
Sure. Take your time. Mm-hmm. No expiration date. We'll just keep playing with this idea a little bit.
I'd keep it.
The proverbial rainy day. You don't know what'll happen in your life, right?
I mean, I guess honestly, like, you know, I'd save it for ass cancer, right? No, I mean, if I'm really interacting with the thought experiment accurately, then I would chuck it. I have navigated the darkness. I have figured out why I'm alive. Here's the really, really down and dirty truth.
Thanks.
The reason I wanted to die was because I didn't believe the pain would stop. Now I see a light at the end of the tunnel when I'm in pain. I know that the pain will subside, and that what I have built for myself that I like in my life that's positive will come back to the surface. And that is the community of people that I've built around me that help hold me up.
You said that you were listening to this podcast before we connected.
Yes.
To someone at your organization. Mitchell. Hey, Mitchell. I hope you're listening, Mitchell. Thanks for your work.
Yeah, thanks, Mitchell.
Thanks, Mitchell. Mitchell, Marshall, everybody involved with your organization. You don't need an M if you want to apply there if they have a job opening.
We have non-Ms.
Okay. Typically, you don't stumble across this podcast. Someone tells you about it, or you're looking on Spotify. So as a 41 or 42-year-old man who's running this organization admirably, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but it seems like a pretty badass organization. What are you doing listening to a podcast like this?
When I decided to work in suicide prevention, I thought it would important that I understand as much about it as possible. I sought out creators in the space. You are one of them. The things that you have brought to light through your conversations and through your own self-disclosure have been part of my educational journey and sharpening my pencil to become better at what I do.
Sweet, man. I love that. Yeah. You know how I say this isn't about prevention? My podcast. Someone else said, Sean, you are fucking clueless if you think what you're doing is not about prevention. And I think, oh, I've never really given that a lot of thought. I think there's something about the word and the way it's often used, and primarily and unfairly, I'm connecting that with 988, go to a hospital, and we know how some of those hospitals work. And I'm like, yeah, that to me feels like I'm okay with that, but that's just not my jam. What are your thoughts on that word? Because part of me doesn't want to prevent anybody from doing anything, and I think people should have agency, but there's a huge asterisk there, obviously.
So I think it's a divergence in how we are using the word prevent.
Mm-hmm.
And so fire prevention is about there not being a fire, right? If there was a fire, you failed at preventing it. Suicide prevention is different. Suicide prevention is not actually about preventing suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Suicide prevention is about providing an alternative. What the person does with that ultimately is uncontrollably up to them.
I really appreciate you saying that. If you started a conference or a conversation and you led it with that, I'd listen. If you didn't, at some point, I would not be listening to you. That's just me. But I think it's not that uncommon.
If you have the opportunity to spend some time in Colorado, we teach a resilience class that I think you'd love.
Oof, let's not even talk about that word. But I'm sure the way you're doing it is awesome. That's an overused word, but I'm sure you're using it in a way that's very awesome.
Overused in the same way that prevention is.
100%. Well, once it gets in the hands of like viral marketers, anything goes. Suicide Note has a Facebook page, and the algorithm shows me all kinds of things from all kinds of people, and I'm sure you're aware of this stuff too. It's like, wow, some of it's great. Social media is limited. It's not the same as an extended conversation. You have image, you have words. There's only so much you can communicate in one post. And these are some of the biggest organizations. So I don't want to get on that.
I'd love for you to audit this class and get your feedback.
Oh, I would love to. How old were you when you got married?
Mid late 30s.
Mid-late 30s. How old were you when you started to think about, I should do something in the suicide prevention space?
Well, it was 2019. After the bike shop, I became a cop. I started a relationship with my training officer in violation of department policy. And as a result of the internal affairs investigation, she shot herself and I found her body.
When was this, Marshall?
This was 2010. Like so many combat veterans, I went into the private security world, ran security companies and everything from bouncing to bodyguarding. And in that time, I had a business partner, Big Al Burke, and he was a Marine. And in 2019, January, very, very unexpectedly, he shot himself. No one saw it coming. It shocked the shit out of me. I was pretty pissed off.
Were you?
Yeah. I went to the VA. On the way up there, I learned the first name of the person, the medical director of the VA, who was a former Army officer. And I was enlisted, and you don't usually refer to officers by their first name. I went in there and commenced to chew his ass like I was a drill instructor and he was a private who fucked up. I was mad. I left that meeting, was driving home, and was furious. And
hang on, Marshall, what were you furious about? Do you know?
The VA's inability to prevent suicide. Actually, well, more than that, the VA's clear, implicit involvement in encouraging veterans to kill themselves.
That's on the record, baby.
I've written about it, and I've said it before. The VA is the most well-funded healthcare organization in the history of our species, in charge of the highest rate of suicide in the history of our species. If you don't think that they're a clearinghouse for unuseful combat veterans, then you're not looking at numbers.
Never heard that before.
So I've got a $470 billion organization trying to kill me, and all the people that I care about and went to war with and who put their lives on the line for my safety.
Including Big Al.
Including Big Al. What do I do with that? Who's going to take responsibility for the rate of suicide amongst veterans? And that's when it dawned on me. I was.
And now 6 years or so on, you've got the organization. You've got some cool merch. I know you're doing a lot more, but merch means I don't have merch. You got people helping you out? Or is it you're not a solo show, right?
No, we've got a staff. We've got a ton of volunteers.
How many people, veterans, do you work with in whatever period of time, per month, per week, per year?
Well, we've got over 100 active participants at any given time.
Life-changing for you? Dumb question, perhaps?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Purpose, belonging, identity.
I bet your partner's proud as shit of you.
She tolerates me.
The humility of a military guy. I love it. This probably came up, but I want to ask it as clearly as I can. Why did you want to talk with me? Why me? Why now?
Well, simple answer is part of my mission is to advocate and communicate about suicide, especially as it pertains to veterans, but we're all humans. And it pertains to all of us. But I guess to answer your question more broadly, we are all of us, every single one of us, suffering from an allergic reaction to the environment that we have built. We are living in an artificial environment, and it's our species is not, it's not conducive to how we are meant to thrive. It's affecting every single one of us, some more than others. The ultimate, symptom of this is suicide, but everybody is experiencing symptoms of isolation. And we all, every single one of us, need to rethink how we have built our communities, or they will get torn to the ground and we will devolve. I'll tell you, as crazy as shit out there feels and genuinely is, I promise you, the wheels are firmly on the bus. And we haven't even begun to experience the depth of our depravity.
Some people will call that dark, Marshall.
The veneer of civility is 3 meals deep.
God damn, if that's not your memoir title, then you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Let me run that memoir title business, baby. I'm gonna get you. You have a couple books in you, I'm sure. Even if they're not written.
I'm writing I'm taking January off to write a book.
What's it called? Do you have a title yet?
The Last of the Analog Humans.
Is this around suicide and/or military stuff?
It's about isolation.
Damn, I'm gonna read that.
It is a critical look at the human condition through one individual's lens.
Yours?
Yes. I mean, the only lens I could write through, I suppose.
The question I ask people around how many people know you attempted and like you just made it very clear. You're open. You run an organization. You talk openly about this. People know about your life. You've also said, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I don't want to be presumptuous, that the main reason I think you said that you're alive, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, is the community of human beings you built around you that you support and they support you. So I'm imagining, given that, you can talk about this stuff should the thoughts arise.
Yeah, I understand your question. Yeah, thank you. I've got an incredible team of people. I mean, absolutely couldn't have accomplished a fraction of what we have without them. So,
do you see a therapist?
Yes.
Do you take medication?
No.
Do you ever ideate?
Yes.
How often?
Less often, no.
Do you think it'll ever go away?
Yes.
Because you said something really interesting earlier about you're in the pain, and you never said the pain's going to completely go away, but you said you see the light or a path. You didn't say, you might feel that way, but you didn't say one day the pain's going to go away. You said, now when I'm in it, because I personally know what it's like to be in it and really feel like it's not going to get better, even if it has in the past, but now you don't feel the way you right?
It's about catastrophizing less, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just focusing on the one irritant, not the decades of irritants that led up to this one irritant, and because that's how you spiral and catastrophize, and also having just the simple faith that I know that my brain goes to really dark places and when I'm unhappy and I have to wait it out. I just know that that's my amygdala response.
Yeah.
And I have got to wait until my prefrontal cortex is back in control so that I can make informed decisions, because I know right now I don't want to be dead. And so I know if I can get back here, when I get back here, I would be pretty pissed off if I X'd myself, in that moment of
I always say, like, if you could talk to the person after the fact and they're dead, would they regret it? And it's like, well, presumably we'll never know, but some people would and some wouldn't. And that's
well, and you made a great point, Sean. And this is something I actually wanted to talk about. When I went to Al's funeral, and at Al's funeral, the dude presiding over it, the pastor, he read a letter that his stepdaughter wrote to him after his death. And it was gut-wrenching. But I knew that somehow if I could have gotten that letter to Al before he made that decision, he wouldn't have. That's the nugget of truth that I carry, that I want to show to people, is however you feel about it right now, I promise you that there are people in this world, and if you don't know of anyone, you're sitting across from one right now, I promise you there are people who give a shit about you and want you to show up tomorrow.
Sometimes it's not enough.
You're right, but at least they have the option.
Right. Give them the options. Give them the information. Give them the whatever. Right. Yeah. Ever stay in a hospital for your psych stuff?
No.
What are your thoughts on hospitals? I'm sure you've heard stories. Not a loaded question, but I have some strong feelings, but truly I just want to know. Yeah.
Not always super effective. Opportunities for improvement there.
Same guy who just said that thing about the VA, which is one of the more direct things I've ever heard. And now you're getting all using your language carefully, but fair enough. Yeah, you're right. I agree. Does your doctor ever give you a diagnosis that you agree with?
Well, PTSD is an interesting one. It's not on its face a disorder. It's a very natural process of the brain just identifying that a thing historically has been dangerous and could be again. It becomes disorderly when it affects your behavior in a negative way. And so a really, really great way of looking at this, to analogize it, is I got blown up by a bomb in a road cone, right? And so now when I drive through a construction site, I get a little bit on edge.
Mm-hmm.
That's post-traumatic stress. If I slam on the brakes, swerve out the lane, reverse course, can't drive through the construction, that's post-traumatic stress disorder.
What do you have?
It depends on the day.
I want to talk about your company. Before I do that, one question about myths or misconceptions. There are many, I'm sure. Some of them have come up. Are there any that stand out that we haven't covered where when you hear this stuff, you're like, that's just absolute bullshit?
Well, I'll give you one about the military. It is it's kind of a double-edged myth because it strikes both ways. One is that a lot of the people in the military go to combat, and that's not the case. It's a very small number of people go to combat, and an even smaller number of those people are actually really fighting to the death against an enemy. So that's one misconception. Now, another misconception is that going into combat is the only way that the military, that people get hurt in the military. The military itself and the people that you're in there with are oftentimes do much more damage than the enemy does, especially given that, a very small number of our military members ever actually encounter an enemy combatant. So I guess those are just two misconceptions. So misconceptions around suicide. There's the big ones that if I ask a person if they're suicidal, that it'll put the idea in their head and then they will become suicidal. And I don't know about your experience, Sean. I guess for me, I haven't really seen anything that backs that up in truth.
If I had a podcast where I talk about this with people and I thought that, I would I should be in jail.
That's you know what? Good point. So yeah, so let's dispel that right now. It's you're not going to make someone suicidal by checking in with them and asking them if they are suicidal. And then the last one, and we already talked about it, but suicidal people are in some way mentally ill, irretrievably depressed, or in any way different. Only thing that suicidal people are is one, more affected by isolation than the average bear, and two, more impulsive.
That's an interesting one. The second one. Okay. Yeah. Impulsivity isn't necessarily a character trait. It could also be completely contingent on or in part your conditions.
Absolutely. Impulsivity, absolutely affected by environmental causes, especially in developing brains. And so, hey, let's take a whole bunch of teenagers, knock them against each other, maybe throw them overseas, have them kill a few people, and then, just be like super surprised when they have super high rates of suicide because, they have increased impulsivity and an acquired ability to endure violence.
You've thought about this before.
I have. It's like my job.
It's like your job. Right. In the remaining time, I want you to share whatever else you want to share and anything else about your organization.
I want to thank you for the courage that you have in standing up in a in an empty space and having a voice and giving people a voice and giving people framework and context around what is happening to us. Simply put, suicide is the epidemic of our time. If we were looking at any other population of animals and they started killing themselves at the rate that we are killing ourselves, we would be alarmed. We would immediately address what is causing this. It is incumbent upon us to start to have a conversation around what is the cause, how do we change the environment to make it more permissible to human habitation. Like we're killing ourselves for a reason out here. So thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. Really looking forward to meeting you out here in Colorado. And I hope you have the time to come check out our operation because we're doing fun stuff.
Yeah, one more thing. I know you got to run, but thank you very much, by the way, for your work and joining me. Appreciate your honesty, among other things. When we label things very quickly, whether it's accurate or not, mental illness, it's an easy out, isn't it? They're mentally ill, and we know from the DSM-V in the most recent edition that these two medications are likely to work. Try them out. Go to your therapy. And that might help, by the way. But it's like, but we don't really have to address a lot of things that some people like you are trying to. But, you know, it takes a hell of a lot larger group of people who give a shit.
It alleviates them of personal responsibility to fix the problems that are in their world. We are all contributing to the environment that's killing us, and we all have to do our part to change it. But if you just say that happened to that person because of this uncontrollable thing that exists inside of their brain, then I don't have to change my behavior at all.
Yep. And around we go. Mr. Marshall in Colorado, thank you very much for talking with me.
Thanks for what you do, Sean.
Take care, man.
Talk to you soon.
As always, thanks so much for listening and all of your support. Special thanks to Marshall in Colorado. Thanks, Marshall. If you are a suicide attempt survivor or ideator and you'd like to talk, I'd love to talk with you. Please reach out. hello@suicidenoted.com. Have a look at this week's poll on Spotify. Give us a quick rating or review on Apple. However you are involved, thank you. And that's all for this week's episode. Stay strong. Do the best you can. I will talk to you soon.